All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this video finds you. Welcome to Villainous News. I'm your host, Embrace Villainy, along here with Red Pill Sleeper Cell.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? All right. So, U.S. news and world reports. So, the big news coming out today is Saudi Arabia, actually, a couple of days ago. Saudi Arabia ends 50-year petrodollar deal with the U.S. What do you think about that? Off rip.
Uh, well, with everything with BRICS, I'm not surprised, but being a fellow American, I am very concerned.
Yeah, because this could probably destroy the U.S. dollar because we are a petrodollar that's really backed by nothing. But let's
Just
see
the
what's going on.
protection of Saudi Arabia and the threat of imposing our will on everybody else.
Yeah, those days appear to be coming to an end. So let's get into this. In 1974, amid an oil crisis and skyrocketing prices due to OPEC sanctions, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia struck a deal. Under this agreement, Saudi Arabia agreed to sell its oil exclusively in U.S. dollars in exchange for military aid, equipment, and protection from the U.S. Why do you need protection from the U.S.? This
No, from
ensured
everybody else.
well, somebody flubbed there. This ensured the steady flow of oil to the U.S. and the market for its debt, while Saudi Arabia received security assurances and economic support. The deal established the petrodollar system, where oil exporters like Saudi Arabia earn U.S. dollars from oil sales, which were then reinvested in the U.S. economy and financial markets. This arrangement bolstered the U.S.'s dollar status as the global reserve currency and extended American economic and political influence worldwide. However, after 50 years, Saudi Arabia has now decided not to renew this petrodollar agreement when it expires on June 9th, 2024, which is already passed. This allows Saudi Arabia to sell oil in currencies other than just the US dollar, potentially weakening the dollar's dominance. In summary, the 1974 petrodollar deal committed Saudi Arabia to trading oil exclusively in US dollars in return for American military and economic support, establishing the dollar as the global oil currency for decades until its recent expiration. Saudi Arabia joined the BRICS last year. For those of you that know what BRICS is, that is Brazil, Russia, India,
India.
China, and South Africa. Those are the 5 main countries that make up BRICS, but a lot of other countries have joined BRICS since then, really for the past year. They've been joining and jumping ship left and right. Prime example, Niger, the coup in Niger, and the coup in Gabon. We're just waiting on, well, at least I've been talking about it. I've been waiting on the coup, which has already happened in Haiti. I'm just waiting on them to call Putin or China to sign the BRICS deal so they can get up under French rule and try to become a first world country almost overnight with all the resources that they're sitting on. With Saudi Arabia no longer obligated to recycle its oil revenues into U.S. Treasury bonds, there could be reduced demand for U.S. debt instruments. This might weaken the U.S. bond market, making it more expensive for the U.S. government and businesses to borrow, potentially impacting the dollar's strength.
That's it.
Yeah, the BRICS banks wants to move away from U.S. dollar. So that's where we sit with that.
And the thing with Saudi Arabia, you got to remember when it joined in 74, the U.S. had superior military equipment and a far superior military at the time. But Russia and China, within the last decade, been improving their military. And right now, what you see with the what's going on in Ukraine and the success of the anti-air system, and also China is going to be the de facto military arms dealer because they produce more naval ships in a year than the U.S. could produce in a decade. So they have like one naval ship takes over is the size of a U.S. city or something like that. So they're producing container ships and military ships. So China is going to be the military arms dealer to the whole world.
That puts that puts the U.S. in some serious problems because they lose out. They lose out, and if it weakens the dollar, oh my God. I had somebody say that this means nothing because the US dollar is traded globally. And I'm like, you don't seem to understand. With this happening, this is the US's strength. The oil dollar is the US's strength. This is why the petrodollar is so powerful. If you take it away, then you're pretty much looking at third world currency. There's not enough buying goods and services globally that will help sustain it to the power that it's at now.
And let's be for real. This with when Russia went into Ukraine and they did all those embargoes and what's the word I'm looking for? When they were trying to punish Russia, they took them off of the SWIFT system and all that. And Russia just went right along and is giving everybody in the world nation courage to step away from the U.S.
That reminds me. That's the story we didn't do that we were missing. The sanctions against Russia. Remember, they stole the money.
Mm-hmm. In those banks.
We'll get to that. Let's move on to our second story. Russia's Putin to visit North Korea for the first time in 24 years. Would you like to take this one?
Sure.
All right.
You put it where I can read it. Russian president to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during a state visit on Tuesday and Wednesday, the Kremlin says. Can you move it down?
I just posted the link in the chat.
Okay.
See, William says, how y'all doing today? How y'all doing tonight, fellas? Say let me know when you're ready. Biden has been making...
I'm pulling it up.
Okay. Say Biden has been making all of the wrong moves lately. Funny enough, the pitch for electing Biden was that if we didn't, then Trump would be the one balking up right now. Irony is a futtermucker. Yeah, the economic
this is from Al Jazeera. Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to arrive in North Korea later on Tuesday in his first visit in 24 years, underlining and deepening ties between the two nuclear-armed states. North Korea Kim Jong-un extended an invitation to Putin when Kim visited Russia's East in September for the first talks between the two men since 2019. At the invitation of the chairman of state affairs of the DPRK, Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin will pay a friendly visit to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea on June 18th and 19th, the Kremlin said on Monday, using North Korea's official name. North Korea's state agency KCNA also announced the visit, but offered no further details. Putin visited Pyongyang on July 2000, 4 months after he was elected president. He met the country's then leader, Kim Jong-il, Kim's father, in a letter published in Tuesday's edition of Rodong Sinmun, the newspaper of North Korea ruling Workers' Party, Putin said the two countries have developed good relations and partnerships over the past 70 years based on equality, mutual respect, and trust. We would develop alternative mechanisms of trade and mutual settlements that are not controlled by the West and jointly resist illegitimate unilateral restrictions, Putin wrote. At the same time, we will build a architecture of equal and individual security in Eurasia. He thanked North Korea for supporting Russia's war in Ukraine and promised to support Pyongyang to defend its interests against what he called U.S. pressure, blackmail, and military threats. Axis of transactionalism. There are growing concerns that Pyongyang is providing Moscow with badly needed munitions for the war in Ukraine in exchange for economic assistance and technology transfers to fuel the military modernization program. Kim has been pressuring in recent years. South Korea and the United States discussed the impending visit last week and expressed concerns about the implications for regional security of the two countries' closer ties. For Kim Jong-un, the visit is a victory. Leif Eric Easley, a professor of international studies at Ewha Women's University in Seoul, said in emailed comments, not only does the summit upgrade North Korea's status among countries standing against the US-led international order, it also helps bolster Kim's domestic legitimacy. Russia cannot replace China economically, but increasing cooperation with Moscow shows that Pyongyang has options. For now, at least, Putin's war in Ukraine sets up an axis of transactionalism among sanction violators looking to trade yesterday's weapons for today's military technology. 2 months after his Russia trip, North Korea announced it has successfully put a spy satellite in orbit after two previous efforts ended in failure. Fragments of North Korea's missiles have also been found in Ukraine. Any weapons trade with North Korea would be a breach of multiple UN Security Council resolutions on North Korea over its nuclear weapons program, which Russia, a permanent member of the Council, previously endorsed. The two countries have denied arms transfers. Andrei Lankov, an expert on North Korea at Kookmin University in Seoul, the Associated Press news agency, that in exchange for providing artillery munitions and short-range ballistic missiles, Pyongyang has hoping to get more sophisticated weapons from Moscow. Lankov added that while Russia could be reluctant to share its state-of-the-art military technologies with North Korea, it was eager to get munitions from Pyongyang. There is never enough ammunition in a war. There's a great demand for them, he said. In recent months, Russia has been going out of its way to publicize the renaissance of its relationship with North Korea since the start of the war in Ukraine, causing alarm among the US and its allies in Europe and Asia. Putin's foreign policy advisor, Yuri Yershkov, said the two countries could sign a partnership agreement during a visit that would include security issues. He said the deal would not be directly against any other country, but would outline prospects for further cooperation and will be signed taking into account what has happened between our countries in recent years in the field of international politics, in the field of economics, including, of course, taking into account security issues. Russian Minister Andrei Belos, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak will join Putin on the trip. The key meetings are due to take place on Wednesday, and satellite imagery suggests North Korea appeared to have been making preparations for a military parade in the center of Pyongyang. Putin would travel on to Vietnam after concluding his visit to Pyongyang.
Good Lord.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like the East, particularly Putin. I put okay. This is the way I'm reading all of this. Putin is the brains behind all of this, consolidating all of the power in the East. All of the power in the East, whereas China is the bank, just like they were with the United States. They stopped being the United States bank because the United States was just borrowing, and never paying back. You know, it's like the United States was to China a PPP loan applicant.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they're not getting their monies back. They're not getting their money back fast enough. So Putin, of course, is making these deals with African countries. Now, of course, here with was it North Korea? He's making all of
And
these
South
South
America,
Koreas. Yeah, South America. He's Mexico.
Venezuela,
Okay, let's not
Bolivia.
forget Mexico. Yeah, he's making a lot of Iran, the UAE. All right, Saudi Arabia. He's making all of these deals with all of these countries, which I've been saying this for a year. They are going after all of the countries that are under the crown. All right, that would be all European based countries, including
Western European.
Exactly, including the United States, Canada, Australia, Germany, who else?
France,
and
Italy.
Italy, Great Britain. There's one more.
Denmark, the Netherlands, and all that is under the crown too.
Right, but nobody's counting them. I mean, you throw some cheese at them people, you defeat them. But this leads you back to Scandinavian countries too, right? This is that whole. I mean, I hate to get biblical, but it is biblical. The seven, the beast of 7 heads with 7 crowns.
10 crowns.
10 crowns.
They got 7 heads and 10 crowns.
7 heads and 10 crowns. I guess it must be 3 other countries. But the whole thing is that it's weakest at the feet of clay. The clay represents the people. All right. If you destroy the people, you destroy the beast. Because how the hell, it's like if I cut your feet off, what can you do?
Can't move.
Right. It's a metaphor. I mean, I hate to get biblical, but I mean, it's kind of my background along with consciousness. So it all ties in together. It's not like Revelations is lying to you. I mean, there may be some fantasy and fairy tale stuff in there, but this is exactly what you're looking at.
It's allegorical.
It's allegorical. And as you can see, Putin is consolidating power. It doesn't matter what the U.S. does. It's like the U.S. is playing checkers. Putin is playing chess. And it sounds like it sounds like they're really preparing for a ground war. All right. It's like they're waiting for the U.S. and France. I mean, France can forget it. I mean, you send a couple of bombs over there, they're done. But the United States,
they can't even control their colonies in Africa. We already seen what happened there.
Exactly. They're getting marched out with people with sticks. Their soldiers they've got freaking submachine guns on their shoulders, and they're marching backwards like this, but by Africans with pointed sticks and rocks. Because they know if they would have made any action toward those people, you've just now started a war with Russia because they had signed with BRICS. Any action is an act of war. But the United States, more than likely, because understand that a lot of countries, they want to avoid the nuclear option at all costs, because you're looking at what they call that mutually assured destruction.
Mad doctrine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't want that. So in order for the United States to really take a real go at Russia, they're trying to, excuse me, they're trying to make a go of it through Ukraine. But the problem is that Ukraine, they've run out of men. They run out of men. I mean, they're conscripting special needs people. That's how desperate they are. And to be honest, Russia is kind of in the same boat. They're in the same
And
boat.
that's why, depending on what reports you read, is anywhere between 500,000 to 700,000 dead Ukrainians, plus injured is over 1 million. That's if you add the casualties and the people that were injured. And that is why in the past weeks, you had North Korean soldiers, Chinese soldiers, soldiers from Africa and South America have been moving into Belarus for training.
I need you to pull up the draft. I need you to pull that up.
Okay.
I need you to pull that up. You say
All
Russia,
right,
I heard, is recruiting Africans for a potential war as well. Yes, they already have Chinese soldiers fighting for them in Ukraine. They already have Chinese soldiers fighting for them in Ukraine. And one Chinese soldier talked about the problem that they're having with the drones out of the U.S. that Ukraine is using. They're a problem. So now what's going to happen is that, because understand that Putin is trying, he doesn't want to destroy Ukraine. He's trying to preserve Ukraine because this is all about resources. What's going on in Dust We Trust? Nice name. So it's now getting to the point, because of the drones, that Putin now has to start using missiles. He has to use tactical missiles in order to take out these drone bases. All right, they have to track where these drones are coming from, destroy the bases where they are, so that way they can go in and make a go of it and finally take over Ukraine. This is why Ukraine asked the United States, could they use their weapons in Russian territory? And the United States gave them permission to do that, which is pretty stupid, seeing how you've got Russian subs and warships off the coast of Florida. What was it? Virginia? Is it Virginia? I'm asking you. It's off the coast of Virginia? I know they definitely have them off the coast of California. Lewis, are you there? Okay, there you go.
I'm here.
He froze up there for a second. Yeah, so you've got Russia has the United States flanked on 3 sides: the East Coast, the South Coast, and the West Coast. Thank you, Jibba Jabba. Yes, Virginia. Not to mention all of the Russian nationals and Iranian nationals, the Palestinians. I mean, we see that the Palestinians are already here. All right, and the South American criminals, who really they're working for the highest bidder. Whoever pays them to do something, they'll do it. Every time I look on the news, some migrant has raped and killed some white girl. I mean,
it was something in the Bronx last week where a legal immigrant raped a 13-year-old girl in the park.
Yeah,
in the Bronx.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. They finally found. Remember the white chick with the fake boobs and the collagens and whatnot? She was one of them type of, one of them type of chicks. They found her in the park. She was raped and murdered. Her head was beaten in with a rock. And the guy that they were looking for that did it, he raped an underage girl out in California. Remember, they showed him coming out the door with no shirt on, and the woman shut the door and whatnot. Yeah, they finally caught him. I mean, it's getting very, very bad. These are criminals who work for the highest bidder. You really think that they're not going to work for a foreign power or foreign entity that gives them a couple of grand to do X, Y, and Z?
And these were the things that Texas and Arizona were complaining about years ago. And in your liberal media, they were saying, "Oh, these states are just being racist and all this, and that." And then, what's the Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, when he starts sending all these busloads of people to all these Democratic-run states, New York, and they start sending them over to Jersey, Washington, Illinois, and Arizona was doing the same thing. And now you're getting to see firsthand through the media with these heinous crimes. And this is what Texas and Arizona and them were experiencing all this time. They thought it was just, being racist and xenophobic, but nobody has nothing against people coming up here to get a looking for economic opportunity. But when you're letting people in, not vetting them, that's how criminals slip through the cracks. And now we're paying firsthand for this. And now everybody's eyes is being awakened and seeing this stuff firsthand, which is going to make the next 5-6 months very interesting.
Willier says it's amazing that there hasn't been nonstop protests at the U.S. Capitol yet. That's because the people who would protest, they got jobs. They got bills to pay. All right? They got to get up at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to go to work and then come home and feed their kids and raise their families and whatnot. That's why you don't see those protests yet.
But the thing you did like 2-3 months ago with the lady with the pink Jeep that got assaulted and her leg broken, and she was
the congresswoman in Minnesota.
Yeah, where she was talking about going against the police and all that, and when that stuff came at her front door, that's when people sing another tune. And that's what you're seeing right now, is where these unfortunate instances, situations are happening. And I really feel sorry for that young girl that was traumatized in New York City. And I hope and pray that nothing like that ever happens again. But when this stuff comes to people's front doors, people sing a different tune. And it's a shame that we got enough in this country with our own criminals and people that does not want to adjust to Western civilization, and be a civilized human being. But now we have people that come from other countries where it's the wild, wild west down there, down in South America. Let's be for real. What we see here, it's far worse down there, and we're in a first world country. They don't have the security infrastructure and the policing that we do. Sometimes we may think it's overhanded, and sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but it plays for a purpose. And now these people are coming up here running willy-nilly.
The last Hispanic girlfriend I had, who was straight from Ecuador, she told me she was a kid, about 11, 12 years old, how she was assaulted by a dude in his 20s. And she was just crying, like, why would he do that to me? I was just a little girl. And I'm like, I had no answers. I have no idea what's in the mind of an assaulter of that ilk. It's just, I don't get it. But they're up here now.
One, in their culture, the age of consent is far lower, and where people complain about patriarchy here in America, just complaining for the sake of complaining, go down there to those countries and see what happened. That's where you see patriarchy at full blast, where you have 20-year-olds messing with prepubescent girls.
Yeah.
because
And
that's
nobody
part of
does
their
nothing.
that's part of their culture. As soon as they hit puberty, they're ready to procreate, and you have a lot of young girls getting married or in relationships with grown men. That's what they do down there.
But they're so oppressed up here.
Yeah, first
Oh,
world
a
problems.
guy looked at me funny. I'm oppressed.
Or
Like,
somebody
okay.
staring at you in the gym because you got on tights on, or you're bending over in your yoga pants. You feel violated.
While filming yourself bending over in your yoga pants, showing all your cookies, showing all
Looking in
your
the mirror
goodies,
with your camel toe bulging out.
you're oppressed. Okay. Oppressed because you can't be a slut. Anyway, on your own time. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. I don't mean to be so graphic, but it is what it is. uh, so here's an exclusive. Biden expected to announce protections for certain undocumented immigrants. Funny that we were talking about them. This is updated. What's today? The 14th? No, the 17th. So this was updated on the 14th. President Joe Biden is expected to announce a new executive action as early as next week that would shield certain undocumented immigrants living in the United States from deportation, according to 5 sources familiar with the White House's plans. The action is expected to protect undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens from deportation and allow them to work legally in the country. The program could also provide a more streamlined pathway to U.S. citizenship. Biden is expected to make the announcement Tuesday, according to multiple sources, at a planned White House event marking the 12th anniversary of the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, which shielded more than 800,000 children brought to the U.S. as children from deportation. A White House official said no final decisions have been made on what additional executive actions might be taken. White House spokesperson Angelo Hernandez, added that the administration continues to explore a series of policy options, and we remain committed to taking actions to address our broken immigration system. I mean, personally, I think it would probably be best if he said, hey, if you join the military, you fight in the military, you are granted immediate U.S. citizenship, because I mean, you have to earn it. I'm
This
not
is
just going to
connected.
give it to you. You should earn it. If implemented, it's unclear how many undocumented spouses would receive protections, but some lawmakers and immigration advocates have estimated it could affect up to 1.1 million people. But sources with knowledge of the White House's plans told PBS NewsHour they expect the scope of such protections to be much narrower. The White House has been reviewing a program known as Parole in Place, that would allow people to adjust their status without having to leave the country, making it possible for them to receive a work permit and a green card. This is crazy. The protections for undocumented spouses could come roughly 2 weeks after Biden issued a separate executive action to temporarily ban asylum seekers from entering the country between ports of entry. The president himself hinted at such an action last week when announcing the crackdown on asylum. Wow. So TikTok they removed my live access.
Oh, they got you too?
Yeah. Ain't that something? I just appealed that. See, that it's such a left-leaning platform, and I can't wait till it's banned or so. For those who say steps I've taken are too strict, I say to you, be patient, Biden said. In the weeks ahead, and I mean the weeks ahead, I will speak to how we can make our immigration system more fair and more just. The president's move to crack down on migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border received harsh criticism from immigration advocates and a number of Latino lawmakers in Congress. On Wednesday, immigrant rights groups and the American Civil Liberties Union sued the Biden administration over the asylum order. Still, less than 5 months out from the election, Biden has moved rapidly in recent weeks to implement tougher enforcement on the border. But this expected new action to protect undocumented spouses could also provide the president a political boost with Latino voters and his base. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus and immigrant advocacy groups have requested for months that the White House act on work permits and deportation protections for undocumented people married to U.S. citizens. In recent meetings with Biden, White House officials and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, lawmakers have pushed the issue, receiving positive signals in return, multiple sources involved in the meetings told the PBS NewsHour. Let me go back to this. It says deportation protections for undocumented people married to U.S. citizens, which means that the marriage scam is in full effect. You know, remember I was saying how, hey, you guys ain't got to go to South America. They're all here now. They're all right here now. Why you got to go to South America when the people are here? So now the marriage scam is working. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Latino lawmakers and immigrant advocates have also encouraged the White House to consider similar protections and work permits for undocumented caregivers and farm workers living in the U.S. So, in other words, the workforce, the jobs that white people don't want, but scream that somebody's taking their jobs. He took her jobs.
And people are too lazy to work with no work ethic.
Democrats have been eager to point out that such an executive action could help their party on the campaign trail as they work to shore up Latino voters in the battlegrounds of Arizona and Nevada. Remember, Arizona was seen as racist? Yeah. Craziness. PBS NewsHour first reported that the White House was considering protections for undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens last week. Insanity. Insanity.
Well, this is for a couple of different things. One, the corporations are pushing this because they want cheaper labor to keep the working wage down. Two, which an article we're about to read in a minute with the NDAA.
Bring that up so I can screen it.
All right. Let me see. Present. Stop screen. Present. Let me see. Share screen.
Russia threatened to arm Iran, Houthis, and other enemies of the USA with hypersonic missiles. St. Lawrence Seaway in Hudson Bay leading into the Great Lakes is another vulnerable shipping route. It's amazing that there hasn't been nonstop protests. Okay, we went through that. Power dynamics and ego satisfaction. He's looking at me creepy. Let me get caught up in the comments. All right. So this is how they will be powerful enough to finally take down the U.S. Yeah. Social media has ruined dating, and it also ruined working out at the gym. Narcissism off the chain now. Yeah. Like and share the screen. Yes, fellas, like, share, subscribe, please. The new channel.
Those that are watching through my channel, put your link. Let me put your link in my chat because like and subscribe each other's channel.
All right.
Support each other.
We're gonna post the we're gonna bring up the Villainous News channel before the end of the month. We're just building content right now. All right, we're building content right now, and we'll more than likely start doing joint streams through that. Jibber jabber kill me. There you go, making allegations again. Oh my God, I really want to go over her deposition, but she is such. Oh my God, that woman is a moron. I'm gonna leave Tiff alone. It's not that the immigration system is broken, it's that the USA has crappy trade policies that forces poverty on third world nations, such as crop dumping, putting farmers down south out of business. That's why a lot of countries have been signing with BRICS over the US, because BRICS, Russia is giving them fair trade. They're giving them a fair trade agreement. What's going on, Detroit?
I
Government
put in my
giving a break.
chat. That's Embrace Villainy channel. Subscribe to them. Those the 7 hour watching me.
Say it ain't women, it's mostly illegal immigrant men. That's the issue. Yeah, but I mean, what I'm about to say, what women are marrying illegal immigrant men? And then before I could even finish it, the first thing popped in my head was Keisha's. Desperate ass Keisha's.
Yeah,
Biden is,
I know a lot of Keishas that married Nigerian men, so
yeah, especially for the
they can
money.
get their citizenship.
What was it back then in the 90s? I think the going rate was like 2,500.
Now it's up to $10,000.
Say Biden is a man stain as far as I'm concerned, and the Democrats are Babylonian trash as well. They're all both two sides of the same coin. Go ahead, sir.
All right, let me read this article. This is from Fox 11 Los Angeles, U.S. military. Is there a draft in 2024? The House of Representatives passed a measure on Friday automatically registering men aged 18 to 26 for selective service. It's like 40 states. If you get your driver's license, men, you're automatically registered. They're going after the young males that live in densely populated cities that do not need a car to drive around. That's who they're going after. Okay? Those that live in suburbs or rural areas that have a car, if you have a driver's license, you're automatically registered for the selective service. Okay? The Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, which sets out the U.S. government's military and national security priorities over the next fiscal year. While it has been invoked in over a half a century, it's mandatory for all male U.S. citizens to register for selective service, also known as the military draft, when they turn 18. I remember getting mine in the mail 2 months before my birthday when I was 17. Failure to register is classified as a felony, and it comes with a host of legal challenges. You can't get student loans. You cannot get a government job. Things of that nature, okay? While it isn't currently a draft in place, Congress and the president can reinstate the draft and force male citizens in the military in the event of a national emergency or war that all volunteer military can't adequate support. Well, technically they got the draft because right now they're forcing people that recently retired into extra year or two of service. It's called a backdoor draft. They've been doing it since the war on terror, since 9/11. People that were retiring, they were extending their contracts and forcing them to stay in. What is the draft? The military draft, officially known as selective service system, requires nearly all male U.S. citizen and male immigrants age 18 to 25 to register with the government in accordance with federal law. If you're a male and you up here and you're between that age, legally or illegally, your ass will report to the nearest office. The selective service system and the registration requirement for American young men provide our nation with a structure and a system of guidelines which will provide the most prompt, efficient, and equitable draft possible if the country should need it. The official website explains. The selective service is a government bureau separate from the Department of Defense. They put Defense of Defense. I guess the editor of Fox 11 should be fired. Who needs to register? Almost all men who are 18 to 25 years old and live in the U.S. must register for selective service. This includes U.S. citizens, U.S. born, dual citizens, and naturalized citizens. U.S. citizens who live outside the country. So if you're thinking you're going to the Dominican Republic, Thailand, or somewhere, bring your ass back here. Immigrants, legal permanent residents, and undocumented immigrants. Refugees and asylum seekers. Dun dun dun. Transgender people who were assigned male gender at birth. So don't think because you say, well, I identify as a woman now. If you was born with testicles and a penis, your ass is getting drafted.
One sec.
People with wait.
I'm sorry. I had to play that.
Yeah. People with disabilities. Oh my God, where is that book? You may be thinking, why would they get people with disabilities? It's a good book to read. It's called McNamara's War. Oh my God, I think I have it in my closet.
You want to take a second to find it?
Nah, it'd be too long, but because I got a shitload of books. Wait a minute, I'm thinking it's under my table here. Hold on. McNamara's War. It was about when General McNamara lowered the IQ standards to get people into the Vietnam War, and they had a bunch of low IQ.
Froze up there, but that does sound familiar. Seeing how the graduation rate, the education system. I'll speak till he comes back. If you notice, ever since the No Child Left Behind initiative was put into effect, there's no such thing as failing high school. They just push you right through. Why do you think you have Tiffany Henyard, who can't even pronounce Illinois correctly? Illinois, alizations. I mean, the stupidity that comes out of her mouth. Oh, you're back? Are you back? You kind of froze up there. All right, still freezing up. Yeah. Why do you think? Oh, I lost him. It's fine. He'll be back. Why do you think you have people like Tiffany Henyard, who's a failure, who lies about her schooling? I mean, I really should. I'm not going to read her deposition. For those of you who are familiar with it or not familiar with Hannibal is Hungry. Hannibal is Hungry. He went over the deposition, the last deposition she went over. And I mean, the chick was just, it was like pulling teeth just to get her to answer a simple question like, well, when did you graduate college? And, you know, are you the mayor? And yeah, I mean, it was like talking to an idiot child. Yeah, so you're right. They don't flunk you anymore. They push you through. And then getting into college is, I mean, of course they want you in college because they want to either take your money or put you in debt, because the college is not going to turn down somebody's loan money because they want you to get a loan. It's not the college's issue when you graduate or don't graduate and have to pay back that loan. They don't give a shit. It's not their problem. Why do you think they enhance their football programs and their sports programs so much? Either it's a basketball school or a football school. No such thing as a tennis school. No such thing as a rowing school. No such thing as a soccer school. Where's the badminton school? You understand what I'm saying here? Oh, the short I posted was classic on the stick figures. Yeah, I mean they want you, they want you dumb. They educate you at an eighth grade level. Well, at least they used to educate you at an eighth grade level, because everything in America, as far as being able to read, write, and count at an eighth grade level, is enough for you to function in this society. Do I need to send him another invite? Hold on, y'all. Let me send him another invite. Yeah, it's enough for you to function in society. But now, thanks to social media, you see that a lot of these people, Lewis, if you're watching, I just sent you another invite if you're having issues with that. You see, with social media, a lot of people don't know how to read, write, and count at an eighth grade level. More like a fifth, yeah, like you said, a fifth grade level. Yeah. Say those junk colleges like ITT and American University, the Judge Joe Brown schools, they'd be advertising on Fox 5 early afternoon during the judge shows in the 90s. You know, what was it? ICDC? They folded. They folded. So now what's the point of even sending my son or daughter to school? I'd gladly opt out. Trade schools is where it's at. Trade schools has always been where it's at. Either trade or some type of tech like robotics, STEM. STEM will always be needed. That's STEM. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. Those four will always be needed. You're always going to need people that work on HVAC, plumbing, all right, electrical, carpentry. You're always going to need those people. Well, we're moving in the age of robotics. All right. When computers first came out, my father, this was like back in the 80s, like the early 80s. As soon as computers were coming out, according to, the family, he was just, working these regular jobs, working 2-3 jobs, working on one of those. Y'all remember those dandy food trucks where they would park outside of a factory or something? They had the potato chips and the cold sandwiches and the sodas. It's a food truck. It was a sandwich truck. He was working that on third shift and whatnot. And my grandmother told him, "Hey, look, why don't you go and get into computer school?" He enrolled in computer school, and hey, the rest is history. That's where you need to be. I got a cousin, my 16-year-old cousin. He's into coding. He invents his own video games. Like, this is where you need to be. Say trades is better than college for a fact. Yeah, because you don't have to pay that much. What are you looking at? $6,000, $5,000, whatever. You're out in less than 2 years? You're done. You're out. Say trade schools, programming and technical colleges, certs is the way to go. Yeah, HVAC, plumbing, concrete, electrician, landscaping, roofing. Yeah, you're always gonna need these. Always need these. Need those services. Okay, you back, Mr. Sir?
What the hell happened?
You froze up and then you got kicked.
How far in? I was reading.
Okay, you were in the middle.
Oh my God. Struggle streaming.
Yeah, we're talking about trade schools and everything now. I mean,
basically they were talking about their show on TV, your draft number, just like they show on the Powerball. They show the number, and if your birthday coincides with that, that's when you go.
All right, so okay, I remember you leaving off talking about trans. If you were a trans person, your ass is getting drafted.
If you were born with meat and potatoes, you are a male. You can't pull that I identify as a female. If you were born with meat and potatoes between your leg, you are getting drafted.
So, okay, you still have the article? Can you bring it back up? Can you start off from there? Yeah, start off from there. Why you do that? Look.
Can you put it up?
Yeah, I need you. I'm waiting for it to pop up on the side here.
All right, let me share it again. Wow, I can't believe I read all of that, and
I read all that for nothing. You didn't see that you froze up?
No, because because I got the screen I can't. I have to go to the screen of the page to read it
Okay, all right, that's fine. Yeah,
because
I've
I'm
I've
not
done
on
that.
StreamYard.
Okay. So let's see. We were talking about. Hold on, I'll let him finish this, and then we'll get back into that. All right. So, all right. Start off at the trans folks.
All right, I'll read it over. Who needs to register? Almost all men who are 18 to 25 years old and live in the U.S. must register for selective service. U.S. citizens, U.S. born, dual citizens, or naturalized citizens. U.S. citizens who live outside the country. Immigrants, legal permanent residents, and undocumented illegals. They will pull them too. I'm looking at my phone. I got my phone this time looking at the stream just in case I go off again.
No, go ahead.
Refugees or asylum seekers. Okay? So those that came over and they're men, they're able bodies too. Transgender people who were assigned male gender at birth. So you can't pull that I identify as a female. You got meat and potatoes, your goofy ass is getting drafted. And people with disabilities. Like I said, it's a good book called McNamara's Morons, where it showed McNamara where he the controversy he had got people with low IQs and people that were basically mentally retarded and forced them into the military. So
Mentally retarded. Jesus.
yes, they were thrown into the meat grinder. All right. If you're a military veteran or a military reservist, you're still required to register with selective service.
Hold on. You
However,
see you freezing up again? You see you starting to Borg? Can you see that?
I'm looking.
Okay. All right. Looks like you're clearing up.
However, if you serve in the armed forces and are 26 or older but fail to register, your DD 214 is evidence that your failure to register was not knowing or willing. Your DD 214 is you get that when you serve your time in the military. So that's proof you served. Several groups are exempt from registering, such as those currently on active duty. You're already in the military. Some disabled persons, that means if you were born with no legs or arms, what can you do? Or those that are incarcerated. Conscientious ejectors are required to register. A conscientious ejector is one who opposes serving in the armed forces and or bearing arms on the ground on moral religious principles. And if you go by, oh, Jesus don't want me to fight, too bad, you're still going. Your soul may belong to Jesus, but your ass belongs to
Yes,
Uncle
belongs to the
Sam.
core.
Yeah.
Your
If you
ass
served on
belongs to the
active duty or
core.
were discharged before your 26th birthday, you still have to register. So if you went in at 18 and you did your 4 years, depending on what branch you go to, if you're in the Army, I think you got.
No, he froze up. Hold on, Lewis. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. He froze up.
Time in the reserve or the inactive reserve.
Hold on.
Oh God.
Hold on. You froze up. You're like, there you go. All right. So the last thing we heard you say was that when you sign up, let's say you did the 4 years and you got out before you're 26. Can you start from there?
Computer's freezing up.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
When you do your 4 years, you would have to be in the IRR or the reserve. You could choose, but guess what? You're still in. Because if you
All
do
right.
a 4-year contract, it's technically 6 to 8. So you're still in.
All
Can
right.
they draft 27 to 40-year-olds? Yes, they can.
Wow.
Yes, they can. Because I remember when 9/11 happened, they recalled a 65-year-old man up to duty because he was a specialist with snipers. They called him up to be an instructor. This was in the Army. This was right after 9/11 happened. Are women eligible to draft? The law currently requires that only men register with Selective Service. However, in the event the law changed to include registered women, Selective Service is prepared to expand registration. So let me move this down because I think it is the thing happening because I'm on Fox 11. How do you? What if you don't register? According to the law, it's considered a felony, punishable by a fine up to 250 grand or a prison term up to 5 years, or a combination of both. If you fail to register with Selective Service, a felony conviction means you may lose your rights to vote or owning basically a gun, and you can't get a government job or student loans.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right. Let me move this down a little bit.
I don't think anybody cares whether they can get a gun legally or a government job.
Yeah.
You gonna do hold a road sign at a construction
Yeah.
site for 8 hours a day?
If implemented, how would the draft work? According to the Selective Service, the draft, if implemented, will have similarities to that of the Vietnam War. That means the Selective Service will most likely hold a draft lottery. Imagine when we all do this at 10 o'clock at night when they have the Powerball, depending on if you're on the left coast or the west coast. I mean, East Coast, West Coast. They depending on what time they show the Powerball, it'd be like that. This means Selective Service will hold a draft lottery based on the dates of birth. The number 1 will correspond with January 1, 15 to January 15th. Officials will draw numbers similar to drawing numbers of a lottery. If your birth date is the first one drawn, you're the first to be drafted. So if your birthday is in March 1st to 15th, you will be going to your federal building to get your orders, however that number may fall. According to the Selective Service, if a draft were held today, those who are 20 years old or turning 20 during the year in which the numbers are drawn would be the first to go, beginning January 1st of the year eligible male turns 21. He would drop into the second priority category, and men born the following year will move into priority group 1, each succeeding year. A draft eligible man drops into the lower priority group until he reaches 26th birthday, at which he is over the age of liability for the draft. Let me move this down. Okay, if draft.
If you're drafted, you automatically go to combat. That's crazy. I know he froze up. I'll wait till he comes back. But while we wait for him to come back, I'm gonna tell you right now what a lot of people are saying about this whole draft thing.
Got me fucked up.
The deferment categories which include married.
Got me fucked up. Got me fucked up.
They don't
All
want
right,
me to
you
read
feel-
this fucking article. They
I
don't
know,
want me
you
to read this fucking.
You froze up. You froze up when you started with, if you're drafted, will you automatically go to combat? That's where you froze up.
Oh God, I'm
And
gonna be
there,
here 5
I'm
hours
making a
reading this
joke of
fucking
the
article.
Jesus. Yeah, I'm making a joke of the Jesus Jones scroller. I don't know who that is. I didn't even know the NBA Finals was tonight. But go on. I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
You motherfuckers read the goddamn screen yourself. Shit.
You want me
Oh
to?
God. It's
Yeah, you
important to
can't.
note that even though someone is registered for their number is called, they may be inducted automatically in the military. They may be eligible for deferment categories. Might include married persons or college students. You may also be excluded for medical or psychological reasons. So if the draft comes, just pop some acid. Fuck yourself up so you don't gotta go.
He permanently scarred.
Or yeah, take some LSD or some angel dust. I can own it. Go ahead.
They'll send you
You may
over there
declare yourself to be
anyway.
a conscientious objector, or may be able to enlist in a specific branch or career field to avoid duty. Guess what? If you're in a foreign country, you're on the fucking front line. I wish Charles Faulkner was here right now. In
I'm
the
over
event
here
of a
talking.
national emergency, required a draft selective service has protocol to place when that happens. Let me go back to this to go down. First, the president and the Congress would need to authorize the draft. Then, selective service activates and orders all personnel for duty. Afterward, publicly attended, national televised, and live stream lottery is conducted. So you cannot use the excuse "I don't own a TV." They will have it on the phone, the computer, your tablet. It'll be everywhere, all over the net, and even Facebook will have it. All right, that's it. Whew, I made it through.
He said, Jibber Jabber said, pull a Ted Nugent, shit your pants. Like, please, they give you some baby wipes and a swift kick and get your ass out there. They will
Yeah.
put you out there. They don't want to hear nothing.
Yes,
So,
being a male, you have the
this is-
unfortunate burden of being sacrificed for the country
what did they say about women?
unless they alter it.
What did they say about women in that article? I think we may have missed that.
No, I read it. How do you register? The law currently requires that only men register with the selective service. In the event that the law is changed to include registered women, selective service is prepared to expand registration.
Wow. So, in other words, if you can't get enough male soldiers to be combat ready and shipped overseas, and not just in Russia, but you're also looking at Iran, you're looking at Africa, possibly China with what's going on with Taiwan, Ukraine,
So if you're a short-haired
Israel.
stud, you will go.
No, I mean, I put it to you like this: you're going to need soldiers not just overseas, but you're also going to need them here in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to need them for the southern border. You're definitely going to have to deal with the terrorist
border.
cells that are here. Yeah, well, Canada is not a bitch. I know what we think about the Canadians, but they're not. Their soldiers are ready to fight. I don't know if they have any males who are able to fight, but they have no problem entering a war.
I have trained with Canadian soldiers. They're very good at what they do.
That's good.
See, what Canada is smart at, they really don't get involved with a lot of our minutia worldwide. They're mainly, well, the Canadian Air Force, they are part of Northcom, Northern Command, which patrols the northern hemisphere. So we patrol each other's borders, and also, guess what? What's next to Alaska? Russia.
Right.
And Alaska is right next to, it's separated from the continental U.S. and it's on Canada. So they do patrol.
What is their
And they
nuclear
have
capability?
a very competent cold weather Arctic force.
Yeah, they can definitely get up in there, you know. They can definitely get up in there and do some combat. I mean, you always need reporters.
Yeah.
You always need reporters. I can see some of these female reporters out there on the front lines. I can see that happening. Whew. So, I mean, my thing is, once they're already talking about this, which means that they're already getting prepped for this. That's why I was saying this last year and this year. If you really want to have people automatically into the service. Like, of course, as I said, if you want automatic citizenship, join the military. But for those of you, all of these young black teenagers or whatnot that's out here committing all of these crimes and everything, I would automatically, you're between the ages of 13 and 17, your ass is going into the ROTC program. You're going to be the reserves. You're the backup. But if anything, you're going to back up the National Guard, because you're not going to have enough men here in the United States to back up the National Guard. So you're going
And
to
can
have
I
a
give
lot
a
of
little
teenagers.
insight?
Go ahead.
In the worst possible scenario, let's say this shit does pop off. What they're going to do first, what they're already doing right now, those that recently retired, they're going to extend their contract. They're going to give them 2 to 4 more years.
Mm.
And depending on a MOS, which is your military occupational study, that's your job. You either, if you're combat arms, you're probably going to be sent to one of the bases which they got the schooling at. Because on all military bases, especially the Army, wherever you do your boot camp is where you do your MOS schooling. So they're going to be there as instructors.
Mm-mm-mm.
Next phase, they're going to call up the reserves, which the ones that go once a month. They're going to move them in the event of a war. Your active duty force is going to be moved to theater. The theater is where the shit is actually happening. So if they say Russian theater, where you have the forces moved over there to Europe or Asia, wherever it's happening. You need people to go to those military bases that they move from. That is where your reservists will go. In your IRR. You got your active reserve. Those are people that go once a month, 2 weeks out of the summer. And then those that are in the IRR, which is inactive reserve. A lot of times people do their active time, then they'll go to the reserves and they want to stay in to have you could do corresponding courses and you could still gain rank. That's the IRR. And what they'll do is either they'll be activated and they'll probably go to the reserve bases to get their training. And until they're fit, they will go to active duty bases. Then the draft people that are getting drafted, your ass will be going to boot camp, where you begin your military indoctrination and then your MOS schooling. And you will still be on that base, still doing training. So let's say when they had, after 9/11, they was going to Iraq. A lot of people were training for like 6 months. If you was in the Marine Corps, you was in 29 Palms. That's in the Mojave Desert.
Ooh,
If
nice
you was
and
in the
warm.
Army, you was going to the National Training Center, which is 100 miles north of 29 Palms in California. And you're getting your desert training where you get to acclimate to the hot weather and the terrain, where you do strategies and maneuvers and all that to get sharpened before you go over to Iraq. So if something would happen, hypothetically, in Russia, you'll probably be seeing people training in Fort Drum, New York, in cold weather, or be going to Norway or wherever is a bunch of cold weather, and probably be utilizing a lot of space in Canada because it's cold up there, wherever the terrain may dictate.
You have to get prepared for that Russian weather.
Yeah. So those that are drafted, you'll get your military indoctrination and boot camp, getting hazed, yelled at, and all that goofy stuff. Then you get the title Marine, Soldier, Airman, Guardian, Coast Guard, Sailor, whatever branch you're in. Then you go to your military schooling. And depending on that, that could be 2 months to up to a year, depending on what your training is and what your MOS is. And if it's a war, you're either going to be a 0311, which is a Marine Corps rifleman, which is infantry, or 11 Bravo, That's the army term for infantrymen. You will be on the front lines. So that's why it's also incentivized to get a good score on the ASVAB, where you could get a good job. All your dummies, unless a lot of people want to be a grunt and they want that action. But I know a lot of people that didn't do good in school, so they made them a 0311, a grunt. You'll be digging ditches and carrying a rifle or a submachine gun. I mean, light machine gun. Learning ground tactics, mortarmen, all that stuff.
Be like Oppum and Saving Private Ryan. Be like Oppum, carrying gear, carrying bullets, helping with the bodies. Oh my God. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. All right. So this will be our last article before we go into the videos.
What's up, Chaos Rain?
Chaos Rain here. Oh, what's up? You got up in here. All right. So U.S. secondary sanctions menace Russian economy. Hello. Welcome to this is on the 14th of this month. Welcome to your weekly guide to the Russian economy, written by Alexander Kolyander and Alexandra Prokopenko, and brought to you by The Bell. This time we look at a new round of U.S. sanctions that seek to strangle Moscow's war machine, and why Russia's steadily falling imports are yet another sign of economic overheating. U.S. sanctions Moscow exchange third country firms. Much of the attention following Washington's announcement Wednesday of new restrictions on Russia was on the fallout from the decision to sanction the country's biggest stock exchange, the Moscow Exchange. In effect, the measures left Russia without an exchange trading of the major reserve currencies. However, the most consequential announcement may be that the U.S. is broadening the scope of secondary sanctions on firms doing business with Russia. The U.S. Department of the Treasury sanctioned the Moscow Exchange on Wednesday, along with its subsidiaries, the National Clearing Center, the NCC, and the National Settlement Depository, the NSD. Being blacklisted effectively cuts off the sanctioned company from the global dollar system. Unsurprisingly, after the sanctions, the exchange announced an end to trading in U.S. dollars and euros. The next day, it canceled trade in Hong Kong dollars. As a result, many foreign banks, including those in China and Central Asia, stopped settling with their Russian counterparts in euros, US dollars, and Singapore or Hong Kong dollars. China's yuan is now the main currency for exchange trading and settlements in Russia. They say that like that's a bad thing, because we knew that China was going to be the new superpower, the new major superpower within we knew this back in the 90s. At any rate, this was not a surprise for the Kremlin. Sanctions against the NCC and NSD had been discussed since late 2022, and Moscow's plans were drawn up long before the current announcement. Now, trading in US dollars and euros, which accounted for less than half of the total trade on the Moscow Exchange, will move to an over-the-counter settlement. Buyers and sellers will need to seek each other out and complete deals on a one-to-one basis. But then again, what Saudi Arabia did, they actually did Russia a favor. How come people don't see that? So far, there is no sign of a crisis, and there is little reason to expect one. An over-the-counter currency market works perfectly adequately in many countries. The immediate impact, however, will be a widening of the spread, the difference between the sale and purchase prices for affected currencies. This impacts both exporters and importers, and these costs will be passed on to consumers in the form of price rises. While the targeting of the Moscow Exchange was significant, it's likely to be the expanded secondary sanctions also included in the sanctions package that will pose the greatest long-term threat to Russia's economy. In its press release, the U.S. Treasury highlighted important changes to its instructions, The U.S. Treasury highlighted important changes to its instructions for banks in third countries where it comes to complying with sanctions on Russia. Any violations could lead to secondary sanctions. U.S. secondary sanctions were first given teeth in a December decree by President Joe Biden, which is arguably the most effective sanctions measure of the past 2 years. The decree promised to punish banks for servicing operations in the interest of Russia's military industrial complex. This meant those either working with Russian companies that were under sanctions because of their ties to the defense sector or servicing the supply of banned goods into Russia for use by defense companies. The new instructions, however, expand the scope of this to cover any company involved with almost the entire Russian economy. The military industrial complex is now defined as any individual or company sanctioned since 2021. For example, this includes all Russian state owned banks, and any individual or company working in Russia's technology, defense, construction, aerospace, or heavy industry sectors. The U.S. instructions gave several examples of activity that would carry a high risk of secondary sanctions. Incredible media reports implies that a mid-sized bank from a country that has close trade relations with Russia is taking steps to profit from the refusal of rival banks to do business with Russia because of sanctions. These steps could be opening a new office in Russia, publishing a Russian language website or promotional material, or advertising its services in Russian language media. And a small bank that does not work with sanctioned companies but makes regular payments to sanctioned cities. You know what bothers me about this? Before I continue, is that I was reading, actually, I was watching Global Economist, Epic Economist. He was talking about all of these banks, all these US banks that are starting to collapse or on the verge of collapse. You understand what I'm saying? So you're looking at both teams taking swipes at each other's money, except the US is doing it to themselves. They're doing it to themselves because of all of this war effort, giving money to Ukraine, giving money to Israel. You're crushing yourself. The interest rates alone are killing the banks. And the funny thing about it is that a lot of these banks that they were talking about that are falling or on the verge of failing, most of them deal with cryptocurrency. Insanity. All right. This sanctions package represents a new stage in the economic warfare against Russia. After starting with attempts to target the military and energy exports, the US is now adopting a more blanket approach. It appears designed to damage Russia's economy, which Washington clearly considers to be entirely oriented toward meeting the needs of the Russian military. A phrase about Russia's transition to a full war economy was even used as part of the headline of the U.S. Treasury's press release. In an article published in the Financial Times, Wally Adeyemo, Deputy Secretary of the U.S. Treasury, described the new sanctions as a means of putting sand in the gears of the Russian war machine. Yeah, but they're just going to turn around and get the money from China. We should not expect any more major sanctions until after the U.S. presidential election in November. You're not going to get more sanctions. Trump is going to deal. He's going to wipe all this away. However, in the meantime, Washington will likely continue to tighten existing measures, making it harder and harder for Russia to work around bans or to engage in trade and settle financial transactions. It seems that strangulation is replacing direct strikes as the West's preferred way of waging economic war against Putin. Figures released this week by Russia's Federal Customs Service that covered the first 4 months of this year revealed that the country's total imports were down 9.1% in US dollar terms compared with the same period a year earlier. The biggest fall, by almost 25%, was in minerals and wood imports. But a much more potentially damaging blow to the economy was to be found in a 4.2% drop in imports of mechanical engineering products, an 11.6 fall in metals and metal products imports, and a 19.8% decrease in chemical imports. Is that why my freaking metals are my? You know I do investing. My silver stocks are down. Is this what they're telling me? This why my stocks are down? You mother, father, sister, bro. It's not all down. It's not all a downward trend, however. Imports of textiles and footwear, for example, are not dropping. Oh, the goofy stuff. And have recovered to the 2023 level. The overall sustained fall in Russia's imports can be explained as a result of the threat of secondary sanctions, which has complicated the settlement of cross-border transactions even in countries that are not hostile to Russia. The difference between consumer goods, where imports are not falling, and mechanical engineering products or chemicals, where they continue to fall, is striking. And it highlights how rising consumer demand at a time of economic growth is not being matched by increasing investment in production, which is what you should expect. This may be because companies are unwilling to invest in a time of uncertainty, or it could be due to Western sanctions. That's why my free. Okay. A decline in imports is yet another sign the Russian economy is overheating. On the one hand, this is not good for overall labor productivity in the mid to long term. On the other hand, if exports recover faster than imports, it will be a boost for the ruble, which has come under pressure as a result of the recent U.S. sanctions on the Moscow exchange. There's been a five-fold rise in the number of private brokerage accounts worth more than 1 billion rubles, 11 billion, in Russia since 21, according to the central bank. These high-value accounts hold 25% of all assets in Russia. Thus, a quarter of the 9.9 trillion rubles held in Russian brokerage accounts belongs to ruble billionaires. The Russian government did not support a paramilitary proposal to increase insurance on private deposits to cover savings worth up to 3 million rubles. Interfax news agency reported Thursday. The current level of Take a water break here. Wet my whistle.
Tongue tied.
The current level of insured savings is 1.4 million rubles. The World Bank upgraded Tuesday its forecast for Russian economic growth this year, which is now expected to hit 3.6%. Their previous prediction was 2%. Oh, okay. Outgrew them. Between June 4th and June 10th, inflation slowed to 0.12% compared with 0.17% the week before, according to the state statistics service. Notably, prices for fruit and vegetables were up 0.7%. In May, month-on-month inflation went up from 0.5% to 0.74%. Okay. They're trying to cripple Russia's economy, but the thing about it is that they have the backing of China, as well as other African countries. Everybody that's part of BRICS, they have that backing. You're hitting them, but they have countermeasures. You say silver stock is down, but gold is skyrocketing high, but gold has a lower price. Yeah, you're right. I've heard about that, Detroit. How gold is on the rise. Like countries are buying gold like crazy. Let me see what my gold stocks look like. Yeah, they're pretty much
Detroit?
the same as where I left them. Yeah, they're pretty much the same as where I left it as far as my gold reserve. That's the only thing that I kept on Robinhood was my gold stock. Sorry, I'm going through my list of all the other stocks. Yeah, gold is. Hold
What's
on,
up, LaVars?
Let me go 3 months. All right, let's see. Gold is now. It's up $15.24, 7.63% the past 3 months. Past month it was down by 4.3%. Last week it was up 1.26%, and currently it's down 0.53%. That would be $1.15. But they're looking at the overnight as being up by 32 cents. That's where gold is sitting. You say silver stock is down for now, but will rise back up to sell off silver bullion bars. I hope so. All right, you have anything to say about that? Or are you ready to get to this video?
We'll get to this True News broadcast.
All right, let's hit 'em.
Gentlemen, this is True News. Hold on, let me go on the app. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Netanyahu dissolved his war cabinet today as signs mount of an IDF invasion into Lebanon. Xi Jinping believes the USA is baiting him to invade Taiwan, and a Russian national security expert is urging President Putin to use nuclear weapons on the U.S. naval fleet. I'm Rick Wiles. This is True News for Monday, June 17, 2024. Let's begin our analysis and commentary on today's world headlines by looking at this report published by IndiaToday.com. Saudi Arabia ends 50-year petrodollar deal with U.S. for multi-currency sales. Doc, I don't know how this happened last week, and I don't recall seeing, well, I know I didn't recall. I would have reported it.
Right.
I didn't see one story in America last week. This happened a week ago.
Right.
We know about the deal with Saudi Arabia. We talked about it, the defense deal.
Yes.
But nobody said, oh, by the way,
The petrodollar deal is ending.
Saudi Arabia doesn't want to renew it. This is monumental. The petrodollar is what has propped up the U.S. dollar since the days of Richard Nixon, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard.
Right.
So we've all been bracing for this day when Saudi Arabia walks away from the petrodollar. It happened, and the news media completely covered it up. They either covered it up or the reporters are too dumb to even know what happened. I'm not sure which one it is. But for the sake of the American people, we'll read a newspaper in India.
Yes. We had to go to India for this
All right,
story.
we'll read it from an Indian newspaper. This is what they're saying about the U.S. dollar.
Well, Saudi Arabia has decided not to renew its 50-year petrodollar deal with the U.S., which expired, folks, Sunday, June the 9th, a week ago. This agreement, originally signed on June 8th, 1974, had been a key part of U.S. global economic influence. Now, the deal set up joint commissions for economic cooperation and Saudi Arabia's military needs. And back then, American officials hoped it would encourage Saudi Arabia to produce more oil and strengthen economic ties with Arab countries. By choosing not to extend this contract, Saudi Arabia can now sell oil and other goods using different currencies, such as the Chinese RMB, euros, yen, yuan, instead of only U.S. dollars. There's also talk of exploring digital currencies like Bitcoin for transactions as well. Now, Rick, this decision marks a significant move away from the petrodollar system established in 1972, when the U.S. stopped linking its currency directly to gold. It's expected to accelerate the global trend of using currencies other than the US dollar in international trade. Now, in addition to this, Saudi Arabia has joined Project mBridge. This is a collaborative effort exploring a digital currency platform shared among central banks and commercial banks. This project aims to facilitate instant cross-border payments and foreign exchange transactions using what is being called distributed ledger technology. Now, this move by Saudi Arabia marks the beginning of a major shift in global economic dynamics, though its full implications on international trade and finance remain to be seen. Now, this is something that we've been watching for a number of years, Rick, and it slid under the radar here this past week.
I'm just stunned. I mean, we all knew it was coming, but when it arrived, it was a whisper. There's a statement here. This is in 1A. It says, back then, back in 74, when Kissinger and Nixon cooked up this petrodollar deal, and I got to give credit to Kissinger and Nixon. It was brilliant in the sense of they came up with a way to hold up the dollar after they took the dollar off the gold standard. They should never have removed the dollar from the gold standard. But what they came up with was a masterpiece in manipulating the currencies.
Right.
Okay, I'm not supporting it. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying, giving them credit for being pretty crafty. So Kissinger came up with this plan, and I'll explain this. In this India Today article, it says, back then, meaning 1974, American officials hoped it, meaning the petrodollar deal, would encourage Saudi Arabia to produce more oil and strengthen economic ties with the Arab countries. Oh, that's not why.
No, it's not.
That's not why we had the petrodollar deal. It was because Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. They were terrified the dollar was going to collapse.
Right.
They linked the dollar. So oil became
gold. Black gold. They switched from backing the dollar with gold and they backed it with oil. Right.
And the deal was all oil in the world would be transacted in US dollars.
Yes.
And so Saudi Arabia agreed that they would do it, and all other Arab nations would sell oil in US dollars.
And it also meant committing the U.S. military to protecting global oil supply.
That was the flip side. Nixon promised Saudi Arabia, if anybody attacks you, the United States will defend you.
Yes.
It had nothing to do with what this article said. So Saudi Arabia has ended that deal. And yes. Doc, now we see the reason for the push to get this deal done with the United States, because the 74 deal ended on June 8th.
Yes.
It was expiring. That's why they had to get it done. I'm wondering if it was a 50-year deal.
It might have been. I mean, it might well have been.
It probably was. That was the impetus to get this thing signed. And so June 8th comes and Saudi Arabia says, we're not renewing.
You know,
and Biden's administration guys just went, well, there's no way that we can force you to do this.
Right. Last weekend, that was the anniversary, the 50th anniversary, but something else was going on last weekend too. And that was the Ukraine Peace Summit. That was part of that was going on. That started last week.
There's the smoke and mirrors. The media was talking about a phony, fake peace summit, while over here in Saudi Arabia, the petrodollar deal was dying.
And there was a story, and I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now, that Saudi Arabia was at that peace summit but left.
And didn't sign the deal.
That's right. They had met with Blinken at the peace summit. The story had said it. And then Saudi Arabia left. And it kind of, there was no explanation for it. Now you have the explanation.
Yes.
That Saudi Arabia just told Blinken, told everybody, we're not renewing this.
Mm-hmm. Because they're going BRICS.
Yes. Folks, it's a big change.
The dollar is not going to stay at its current level. You think we've seen inflation in the past 2 years? You have no idea what we're going to see. It is the only way out for the rulers of America, the upper class, the ruling class. The only way out for them is war. That's it, Doc. They don't have another plan. They got to blow up half the world in order to retain control. That's where we're headed right now. Or we are going to the status of Argentina or Zimbabwe really fast.
Yes.
You're muted.
Now do you see why we read the articles that we read? Everything is falling into place.
Get ready. Next story, Financial Times, London. Joe Biden ready to reopen U.S. oil stockpile if petrol prices surge again. He's practically drained our strategic reserves down to nothing. And what this story is saying is what little bit of oil is left in the strategic reserve, Biden's going to sell it. Right. And guess who he sells it to? China. Every time he sells the oil, it goes to China. China's building up a stockpile of oil, and the U.S. is depleting a stockpile of oil. Donald Trump had the strategic reserve, I want to say tanks, but they're not tanks. They're actually underground caves where the oil is stored. Massive underground caves. So President Trump had them full, literally brimming, running over.
Bought the oil cheap
at the cheapest price. Joe Biden sells it off when oil is at a high price.
Right.
And he has no plans to ever replenish it because the plan of the green communists is to get rid of oil. And you know what? The Saudis are saying, we're not in this deal.
Yes.
We live on oil. We're not going along with your plan. We like selling oil. And we're going to continue to sell oil. We're not signing on to your green communist agenda. We're just going to sell oil. But the United States is literally
hell bent on getting away from oil.
We're determined. Our leaders are determined to get rid of oil, even if it collapses our economy. So anyhow, this article in the Financial Times today is the main gist of this article is the Biden administration plans to sell off more oil. The statement that comes here, Amos Hochstein, President Biden's closest advisor on energy. If I were the president, I'd get a Texas oil man to be my closest advisor on energy. But maybe Mr. Hochstein knows a lot about the oil industry. That the prices at the pump were still too high for many Americans, and he would like to see them cut down a little bit further. You know why? Because there's an election coming.
Yes.
And you see it here at the end of this article. It says, despite his limited ability to influence prices, many motorists blame the Democratic president for the squeeze at the pump. David Gonzalez Broche, an Uber driver in Las Vegas, said, I don't like Biden. For gasoline, I'm paying almost $5 a gallon. Before, it was $2 something when we had Trump. There's the reason.
Yes.
So they're artificially adjusting the price of oil for an election. You know, isn't that election interference?
I would say it is. Yeah, I mean, you're buying off the American people is what you're doing.
Yes. And you're harming national security to buy votes.
Now, Rick, there's an interesting name in this article, Amos Hochstein.
Yes.
Okay. It says that he's President Joe Biden's closest advisor on energy.
What else does he do?
He's the special envoy
to the Middle East.
To the Middle East right now,
yes.
Trying to negotiate or reduce the tensions between Israel and Hezbollah.
Right.
He's there right now.
Yes. So he's the closest advisor on a lot of things.
Yes.
on Middle East tension, on energy, on strategic reserves. Closest advisor.
I don't think they're unrelated either. Do you?
No, of course not. The Biden administration is a very Zionist-controlled administration.
When I saw that name pop up in this article today, I said, I saw this name yesterday. The meeting with the president of Israel.
Same group of people. It's a small world, Doc.
Yeah,
it's a
sure
very
is.
small world.
And you ain't in it.
This next story, this is so classic True News. I would pay $100 to have a headline like this on True News. I didn't even have to pay anything. It was there for free on the Telegraph. The Pope accused of illegally wiretapping phones. Now that's True News.
That's True
All
News.
right, that's the kind of stuff we report. The Pope faces a United Nations investigation over his personal authorization of allegedly unlawful wiretaps during a Vatican investigation into the corrupt sale of a 300 million British sterling pound central London property. Lawyers for Raphael Mincione?
So, had to practice that.
All right, I'm glad. You know what? I'll let you.
So he was talking about the debt clock, right? We'll come back to this. We'll take a look at this. Can you see that? Can you all see that? See all that red? This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This is the debt clock. Hold on, it's coming up. We'll take a look at this, then we'll go back to the Pope doing what every country in the world does that has the technology to do it. Where are we? $9 million. Gold demand by country in ounces. Oh my God. And look at China. They're sitting up there with 38 million. India at 34. And the US is all the way down here with 9 million. And where is our favorite friends here? Yeah, Russia at 2 million. Vietnam with 2 million. Okay. You can go back. I just wanted to show that.
No, that's very important.
You take it from here, Doc.
So, Mr. Mincione is a British financier accused of defrauding the Vatican, and they filed a complaint to the UN about alleged abuses committed during the trial by Pope Francis, the spiritual leader of 1.4 billion Catholics worldwide. Now, the article says Rodney Dixon, a leading human rights barrister, has accused the Pope of personally authorizing unlawful wiretaps of Mr. Mincione's phone during the investigation into alleged wrongdoing at the Vatican. During the trial, it emerged that Pope Francis himself handed powers to investigators, allowing them to tap phones, intercept emails, and arrest anyone they wanted to without approval from a judge. Now, the powers were based on what's called rescritti, ancient laws that the Pope could use as divine monarch of the Vatican. Now, the Vatican claims that Mr. Mincione defrauded it by inflating the price when it invested 124 million pounds in a former Harrods warehouse in Chelsea via a fund managed by Mr. Mincione. Prosecutors charged Mr. Mincione and 10 others, including Cardinal Angelo Becciui, the former right-hand man of Pope Francis, with offenses including fraud, embezzlement, and abuse of office. Mr. Mincione maintains he didn't do anything wrong and that the property was appropriately valued by independent experts. He claims that the Vatican has never disclosed evidence to show it lost money, nor of his alleged wrongdoing.
Well, Doc, I hope Mr. Mincione doesn't end up hanging from a tree like Roberto Calvi with
gold bars in his pockets.
Yes, with Masonic engravings on them. Yeah, they were bricks. They were bricks. They weren't gold bars. They were bricks. They stuffed his pockets with bricks, and the bricks had Masonic engravings on it. But he seems to be headed in that direction right now. He should watch himself. Stay away from tall trees. RT, brain chips to replace cell phones in the future, says Mr. Musk. Oh boy. How about that?
Yeah, that's where we're headed. So cell phones will become obsolete in the future, being replaced by chips that are implanted directly in the human brain. That's coming from billionaire tech entrepreneur Elon Musk. Musk shared his latest prediction in response to a post published on X by a parody account named Not Elon Musk on Sunday. The original message read, "Would you install a Neuralink interface on your brain to allow you to control your new X phone by thinking?" Musk replied by claiming that in the future, there will be no phones, just Neuralinks.
So he took it another step.
Yes.
You can
So you
pause
got
that.
it wrong. You
Or
won't need a Neuralink
whatever.
to control your phone because you won't have a phone.
You will be a phone.
Yes.
He's talking about something that won't take place for another 20 years, 30. I mean, that technology, and then people actually accepting it, that's a whole different situation here. But I was looking at going through this debt clock. The new home median sale, the new home median sales price in 09 was $224,000. Today it sits at $413,000. The existing home median sale price in 09 was $186,000. Now it sits at $355,000. You have to be crazy to buy a home in today's economy. You say Musk is a psychopath? Yeah, well, Tony Stark is a psychopath too. He's a fictional character. I mean, but
Bay, who is the group that's bragging about being the largest group of homeowners?
they also the largest group of evictions. They're also the largest group of student loan debt.
And
He
the
also-
largest group that's predatory on their own men to save them from the dysfunction.
I'm in a situation now on the TikTok. I know I'm saying TikTok to date myself, where this whole Father's Day thing. We congratulate men on Mother's Day for being fathers. I'm like, no, we don't. That's an insult. Like you're insulting us when you do that. We don't want female validation on Mother's Day. Like, and people need to understand something. The only reason why black women are running around talking about someday the mama and the daddy and all that goofy shit is because white lesbian feminist ideology has permeated their brains. Our women are the most malleable women on the planet here. Well, by our quote unquote, our black women are very malleable because they want that pat on the head from Miss Sally so bad it's pathetic. I mean, it's bad enough you have these sisters on Hinge having to change their race from black to white just to get other races of men to look at them. And what they fail to understand is that Hinge has it correct. Hinge has it correct. They know who you normally sleep with. They know who you're normally swiping right on. That's why you have been pigeonholed. Hinge's algorithm isn't being racist. It's correct. By the way, the women who are talking about that, oh, now I see all types of doctors and lawyers and white men is, do you date black women? Like, none of those women who changed their races to white are going on dates with these with these dudes, unless, let's just be honest, unless they just straight for the stroke, but not for the aisle. I hate to say that, but this is where we are now in society. I'm sorry. Did you want to add something? We've got about 6 minutes.
Yeah. You're good enough to poke, but not put a ring on.
And it's not because you're black. It's because of your ideology, your behavior, how you presented yourself. Nowadays, when women get to talking all that crazy stuff, I mean, fellas, just ask them, well, what are your rates? How much you go for? What are we talking? 150, 200? You know, I mean,
Well,
just, I mean, because
well,
I
what's your
mean,
Cash
it's
App?
prostitute culture. Hmm?
Do you got Cash App? Here,
Yeah,
875. Bend over.
yeah. Because I mean, unfortunately, I've been saying this for a minute. When this war, when it is on and popping, prostitution is going to be off the charts. All right, because all these little simpy ass little Captain Saberho dudes. I mean, it's not enough for them to go around. Matter of fact, these dudes won't even be around. They'll be on the front lines. They won't even be in this country. They'll be left with dudes of 40 plus.
And you know what the possibility is? I might get recalled.
How old are you?
I'm 49. But
What
what
was
my
your
MOS,
special?
my specialty was communications reconnaissance.
Mm,
First, I was a field radio operator, and then we trained in intercepting signals.
great. And see you on TikTok and your unit.
And all of y'all out there, I will still be doing Clubhouse Chronicles from the Russian theater. So those that love it, that can only stand like 10 minutes of it, I will still provide it for you.
I
Because
can
I
see
know
you.
you love it.
I can see
know
you now.
you love it.
Bombs going off. Boom, boom. Come on. I'm at 96%. Hold on. Let me get the thumbnail going. Bullets whizzing by. I mean, no, I'm being but in all honesty, let's be serious here. Uh, the one thing that a war is going to do is decrease the male population. All right, which is going to, of course, bring down interest rates and everything, home ownership. Because I mean, the supply and demand right now. If you don't not have, if you can have the supply, but if the demand is not there, then the price is going to drop. It's going to drop. So, what you're going to look at, you're going to see a whole new. It's going to be a whole new class of people out here come 2030. A lot of babies are going to be born between, between now and 2030. We're going to be in a war if probably next year, if not by the end of this year. No telling, because in all honesty, in order for Biden to stay in office right now, in all seriousness, we have to be in a war, because you can't change trade. What am I trying to say here? Cannot change leadership, cannot transfer cannot transfer power while you're in the middle of a wartime situation. So the only way he's going to remain in office is if we go to war, and he's not fit to do it. Kamala, like I said, if he goes, then Kamala will be in charge. That whole Lisa Simpson situation, and you know that chick is in no position mentally at all.
That cackling hen?
Yeah, Giggle Puss is not equipped for this. And what you're going to see this place become a third world country almost overnight. Almost overnight. You've got terrorist cells. You've got men in dresses talking about some throwing them on the front lines. This stuff, it's going to be cleaned out. This place is going to go through a cleansing. There's the purpose of a war like this, in all honesty, is going to be about a culling of the herd.
And
May the best
also,
country win. I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and also, you deplete the population, and you're going to deplete the population that will be probably collecting benefits. So
It's fine. You're going to give them, more than likely, whoever comes back from war, it'll be pretty much like Vietnam. Here's some homes for you, free FHA loans. Well, no, not even a loan. They just, the government will do your down payment. Like my father has the Vietnam benefits. I can get a home right now with his benefits with no money down.
But that's
I
if we
think
come out
who
the
else had it
victor.
too? Hmm?
That's if we win the war.
Yeah, if you win the war. But yeah, I mean,
No,
this is. Go ahead.
no, this is something, like this shit is kind of scary because I mean, although you had a stalemate in Vietnam, you it was a stalemate in Afghanistan, if you want to call that. With Iraq, we got Halliburton over there right now, still in oil. But we're talking about a real war with two highly functioning armies. And if we lose this, it's a potential like what we did in World War One and World War Two can fucking happen to us. Where, all right, you lost. It's time. All right, it's time to hand over some stuff. And remember what happened to Germany after World War II. Remember what happened to Japan when you had a General MacArthur over there, our general, as the governor of Japan. He was the de facto emperor at the time. You could have somebody representing Putin or Xi Jinping over here. Like, you know what you lost? We're going to take Alaska back or some shit like that.
And that's a huge oil reserve for the United States. Huge oil reserve.
So there's a lot of implications. Oh, by the way, the Celtics that beat the Mavericks. So the Celtics got their 18th championship.
Oh, good for them.
Well,
Jesus
anyway,
Jones off the bench in his
Jones.
Converse with the laces out. Game-winning three-pointer, buzzer beater. The kid from Brooklyn at 5'8", 246 pounds with a headband on, looking nasty as shit. Anyway, let me stop.
Yeah, Detroit, Hitler's generals, Japanese prime minister. That shit can happen to us.
I need to rewatch there's this series out called The Man in the High Castle.
Oh,
where they talk about what if the U.S. lost the war?
Yeah, where Japan got the West Coast and Germany got the East Coast, and it was like the Middle America.
Yeah, I need to finish watching that series. I thought it was very captivating. It's slow moving, but I need to get back into that. All right, so we're at the 2-hour mark. Any parting words, sir?
Right now, like I said it on Black Ram's channel when he had me up, and like I always say here, and what we discuss on the phone all the time, what I've been saying in BGS's panel, gentlemen, if you got extra income, invest on getting a deep freezer. Stock up on your meats while they're cheap now. Consider getting some Rubbermaid totes or some type of storage for beans, because you might, the way this economy going and where I'm at, meat is going up. You might want to get it while it's cheap now on alternative forms of protein. Me and Baby talking about this shit all the time on the phone. You might want to invest in this stuff now. Fuck the Jordans. Fuck your PlayStation and Xbox games that you want to get. You might want to be looking at everything right now. Fuck these bitches and hoes. They're not going to like you, and they never will. So forget about them. It's about survival now. And what's the saying? It's best to have it and not need to use it, and when you need it and you don't have it. If you're in a 2A state, get them power tools. If you're not in a 2A state, get them power tools, but be secretive about it.
Matter of fact, Biden just I think they allow bump stocks. They passed a bill where you can have bump stocks now. which is good because I mean I've got an AR-15. It needs I can't get the bump stop because of how it's designed, but I can get the shoulder harness, the shoulder grip. So yeah, but it's you can now get that now. That's good news. I'm sorry, were you still
No,
going?
I
I'm sorry.
mean, if you're and here's the thing too, we're on YouTube. We got a phone, which is basically a handheld computer. Instead of watching bitches, the fuckery on YouTube, is a lot of good channels out there with. It's this Russian woman I watch, where she teaches you how to can foods, and if you're from the South, you know how to do this. And if you had the privilege of having a mother and a father and a grandma and a grandpa, and they're from the South, they know how to do this. They show you how to cook the food, put in the jars, and put in a pot with water to pasteurize it, and then how to properly seal it. And you have, they show where you can put your rice and your meat and your vegetables all in there in one jar and cook it, and how to store it. So if learn that, learn how to can, learn survival skills. It is a good book you could get off of Amazon, or you could go to your local Barnes and Nobles, get the Ranger Hand Guide book. Go on Amazon and get you some water filters, survival water filters. It's things that you're gonna have to learn, and it's best to know it and not use it. But it's always good to be prepared. Stock up on your food. Because where I'm at, beef is going up, and poultry going up because of these, like this bird flu bullshit. And when things like this happen, just like COVID, when there was shortages on one thing, the customers were making a run to another category. Get ahead of the game right now. Get ahead of it. Buy toiletries, like right now. Buy soap. Get extra toothpaste, deodorant. While I'm a couponer. Get the coupons. While you see toothbrushes and stuff, buy it. If it's a good sale, on it. Buy like 10 of them. Put them up. Stock up on your first aid. You need to get alcohol, peroxide, iodine, bandages. Get aspirin. Get things now that you have it when it was a run. Because I remember when COVID happened, people were making runs at every goddamn thing. I mean, people were buying bleach like it was going out of style, because I'm surprised, like, you're supposed to use bleach when you clean, but that's a story for another day. People were making runs everywhere with alcohol, peroxide, getting aspirin. You had the shit apocalypse, running out of fucking toilet paper, all that stuff. Remember what happened during COVID when you was going to your Walmarts, to your local supermarkets, where they had limits on stuff you had to buy. Buy it now. Imagine COVID is about to happen again. Get the stuff now so you don't have to worry about it. And when you do this stuff, keep your fucking mouth shut. Only speak to selected people that's on the same program as you. But don't advertise this shit. Because people know you have this stuff, they're going to come after you. If they can't get it from there, they're going to come, you're going to be a target. Do this shit in silence. Only speak to like-minded people, and keep your head on a swivel. And be the gray man. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, definitely. You need a generator. You don't. I mean, you can get electric generators. You can plug them in. They'll give you 48 hours worth of power, and they're less than $1,000. They're close to $1,000, but still, get you an electric generator so that way it's quiet, because if the power goes out, you're going to need that. And they plug into anything. They have all types of different ports and plugins. You're going to need your refrigerator to run, your your deep freezer to run. You're gonna need to keep up with the news. You're gonna need your phone charged because, as I've been saying for the longest, if the power goes out, you're fucked. You're fucked because the only thing that's really holding people back. I mean, you already see that people don't care about cameras being out here with these robbing crews and everything whatnot. They just cover their face. Imagine if the power goes out and there's nobody watching because a power grid was taken out by an incendiary device or something like that. Somebody rammed through there. However it happens, you're going to be in a bad situation. Most people normally keep, let's say you're in a house, most people probably keep around, no, generators are cheap, bro. You go on Amazon, look up a generator. They are cheap. They are cheap. But getting back to what I'm saying here, most people in a house normally keep about 2-3 weeks worth of food. I mean, especially if you're scrounging. If you're in an apartment, especially like a 2-bedroom apartment, you might have maybe a week's worth of food, maybe, because you really don't think about it like that. And when you're in an apartment, especially if you by yourself, I mean, let's just face it, our eating habits are terrible. We probably eat out about 2-3 times a week. Stop, get some tacos or some Chipotle or something like that, hamburger. You might have some green beans or something in the cabinet, knowing that you ain't gonna never touch the shit. Maybe some powdered pasta that you're gonna need some milk for and some butter. You don't feel like really making it. And heaven help you if you don't know how to cook.
Yeah.
Heaven
And
help
can
you
I
if you
say
don't
one
know
more
how to cook.
thing?
Go ahead.
Those that got the fortunate privilege of having a grandparent that, especially if you're from the South and you're up here, you know what I'm talking about. And you got a grandparent from the South. I know we don't like to hang around people a lot, but go under the learning tree. If you know an elder out there in your neighborhood that a reliable person like old Miss Johnson or whatever, pick their brain what they did when they was down south. You got a lot of, and if they're still coherent with their
That
thoughts
is
and
if they'll
everything.
tell you. That is if they
Yeah,
tell you. I mean, sometimes talking to
get
old
a pen.
people
Look,
is like
pen
pulling
and
teeth.
paper. Go underneath the learning tree. Pick their brains. Learn from them. Oh, Miss Johnson, bring some food over. She'll love to talk to you because probably don't want no. Got people don't even really want to talk to her. Like when you was down south, or how do you do this, or that? You're getting free training right there. Go underneath the learning tree right now. While you still got that brain trust out there that's still alive. Learn.
If you live in the suburbs, I mean like suburbs, where you gotta, the nearest neighbor's house is take you at least a good a minute to walk to. Usually they might have a garden, all right, or they might have, okay, like let's say like you're living out where people have poultry running around or whatnot. These are people that you're gonna need to trade with. You need to get in because I was trying to get in real cozy with my neighbors, looking at future calamities. They every man for themselves, and that's fine.
Buy some mason jars.
Yeah.
Get mason jars while they're cheap.
Also, stock water. Stock water. Stock water. I've got so many freaking. I got 3 stacks of water as high as me. 40 bottle count, because you never know. You never know. If I was to perform debilitating attacks on a civilization, I'm taking out your electric, I'm taking out your water, and I'm taking out your food supply. And then I'm just going to let you cannibalize yourselves. You're already going to cannibalize yourself when the lights go out. But if I take out at least two of the three, you're definitely going to cannibalize yourself. I won't have to do anything. Just sit back and watch the chaos. I'm pretty sure people will be posting all types of insanity on TikTok and YouTube like they do now.
And your average supermarket only has 72 hours or 96 hours worth of supplies. And that is only going because in a major supermarket, you're only going to get no more than 5% or maybe 10% during the week of the general population that is patronizing the store. If you're in an urban area, you see how the store is during first of the month. And you know what I'm talking about.
Magnify that.
Do you remember what happened during COVID where you had lines and you had a limit of things that you could buy? In a supermarket where the whole fucking city is going there at once, is only going to last a day.
Hell,
That's if motherfuckers don't take this shit.
My local Kroger's normally has gaps on the shelves. They have gaps in the shelves. The only grocery, matter of fact, Walmart too. The only grocery store I go to that doesn't have gaps in the shelves like that is the Asian store. Asian grocery store where I get my meats, they don't have gaps in the shelves.
And can I say this?
Go ahead.
Oh, also, look, if you're on my side of the channel, go over to Embrace Villainy and subscribe to him. And if you're on his side and you're not already subscribed to me, subscribe to the subscribe button. And we, like you said, we will be coming out with Villainous News, a separate channel. We'll be focusing on this. And this gender war shit is getting old. We need to be looking at real world events. Now, if you're out of shape, you might want to take the time now to focus on your fitness.
At least an hour's walk every morning or every night. Grab the dog
and a lot of us,
yeah.
A lot of us, we may be a little, sexually frustrated or not. Use that energy, refocus it.
Don't worry.
We need to put out. Oh yeah, yeah.
Don't worry. A can of green beans is gonna take care of that.
Yeah.
You hungry? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm being.
Yeah. You can put out a look. Yeah. Hey, the way it's gonna be, you get a cup of noodle, couple pieces of bread, and a can of tuna. You can catch any little thought running around. Just put it there with a little box and then catch them.
I'm in a bind, Nate. The old head's gonna be cleaning up. The old head's gonna be clear. There's gonna be a lot of old head babies running around here in 2030.
Get them, start selling them Viagra pills.
Shit. Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, get the generator. You can get a quiet generator for under $1,000. Just go to Amazon. I understand Detroit, but yeah, go check Amazon. Prices are very cheap. They actually be having them on sale. Make sure you get your power tools. Plenty of ammo is so cheap. Ammo is so cheap. You can get ammo for less than $20. Ammo is very cheap right now.
Learn, if you don't know how to fish, learn how to.
Noodles without meat sound great. You know what? I'm getting ready to well, I was gonna do it today, but tomorrow I'm boiling some oxtails and some ground beef to throw in my noodles, my pho noodles. I get the box of pho noodles from the Asian store, $20. $20. I get what, 12 bowls. Yeah. Cut them up, throw it in there. I feel you. I'm sorry, I'm probably all over the place, but
all this information is relevant. We're joking around, but this shit is getting serious.
Yeah.
And it's best to be prepared and not be able to use it than when you need it and you don't have it. So and desperation brings out the animals in everybody. We're only as civilized as the comforts the environment gives us. If you want to see the true nature of human beings,
Take away the
let shit hit
police.
the fan.
Yeah, take away the police. Take away the governing body, and you'll see some real Ariel Castro shit going down. That's why I laugh when women talk about down with the patriarchy. Like, bitch, don't you know you'll be chained to somebody's pole in a basement if it
They'll
wasn't for
see what true
patriarchy?
patriarchy is.
Ain't no woman gonna come. Ain't no team of women gonna come looking for you.
And you know, I think it's on Amazon. Look up Why the Last Man. You want to see how these women gonna be acting? Watch that series.
No. Read the book.
Well, the graphic novel. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
read the graphic novel. The TV show is on some new age freaking girl power bullshit. Read the graphic novel, just like The Boys, where they made Frenchie gay. No. Read the graphic novels. I understand what you're saying. I'm sorry, Lewis. I wasn't trying to
no.
diminish
It's
what you're
okay.
saying, but read the graphic novel. You'll see some really crazy shit. If you've ever read the graphic novel of The Walking Dead, you're pretty much in a situation like that, where it's not the zombies are just representatives of people who are scavengers. But you're going to be in a society like that real soon if all of this jumps off the way it looks like it's going to jump off. You say, watch Dawn of the Dead. You see how women acting up? Yeah. All right, let's get out of here. You ready to go?
Yeah. Remember, be good to others, but first and foremost, be good to yourself.
Exactly. All right, y'all. Peace out. Catch y'all later.